I found a church. Thank God. Your girl has officially, I think, chose the church that I am going to go to here in Texas. And because we have been on this journey, this conversation about church things and all the things, me processing and all of that, I wanted to update you about finding a church. So welcome back to another episode of the You, Me, and Jesus podcast, where we talk about all things you, me, and Jesus, including church, because obviously Jesus, church, all the things. So we're going to be talking about that today. Now, if you have not already subscribed to the show here on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. And then if you are listening to the podcast, make sure you write a review, because that is how we get discovered. I just came back from a podcast conference and they were very clear that if you want to get discovered, you got to tell people about the show and people have to write reviews. So please write a review, subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it so much. So today we're talking about the fact that I believe, chosen a church. Now, it has been since May that I've been talking about this church. And as of this moment, I believe that I have chosen a church. And I say that because I just feel like this is it. But listen, I'm still feeling it out. I haven't joined or anything, but I feel like this is it. And I want to talk about it. So I've been talking about this church here in Houston called Rig Global. Had never heard of it, had never heard of the pastor, but the small church that I was attending when I was in San Diego, the pastor, she said when they come to Houston, the only place that they go is Rig Global. And I trust her because I know who I am. I know the type of church that usually helps me grow and all that. And her church was something that was helping me grow. And when she said this is the place that she goes, I said, well, the least thing I can do is check it out, because if that's where she goes and it's feeding her soul, and her church fed my soul. So I shared previously that my first Sunday there, the pastor was not there. He was in Dallas preaching at another church, which is totally fine. And my first experience was, I was in shock. I was like, first of all, for context, I'm used to going to churches, Black churches, white churches, mixed churches, all the different things, I've been church pretty much my whole life. And so, I was going from a smaller church to coming back into a bigger church, right? So I kept giving myself this permission of, hey, don't forget you are back new in Texas, new spiritual environments. Everything's going to be new. There's going to be all these different things that's going to be happening. And you just have to give yourself permission to just kind of slowly take it all in. And so when I got to this church, what I noticed was that it was 99.9% Black. Obviously, I'm Black, right? Not that big of a deal, right? But because majority of my Christian walk, it has been in multicultural churches, like really like very, very evident that it's multicultural. It was a shock for me, right? And I was like, it's okay. Like, I'm glad to be around my people. This is amazing, right? I was like, I'm going to get found quickly up in here because all these Black people. Anyway. But what I started to experience that day was like, I wasn't used to how expressive that the church is. Like, I'm used to loud worship and all that. That's just kind of, I've always been involved in that. But it's been over 15 years since I've been in a church, and it is just, it's always loud. Everybody's yelling, and it's been a long time since that has been a church that I have gone to. And I found myself just being so distracted, just like I just couldn't figure out what is going on. Now, I realized later that one of the things is that I find myself becoming overstimulated, and I've done a lot of therapy, right? And so one of the things that I do when some things are happening, I have to have this internal dialogue with myself and say, what is happening? What am I experiencing? What could be happening, right? And I've noticed that when I'm in loud environments, I become overstimulated. And I was like, well, why do I become overstimulated? I didn't used to be this way. And one of the things that I realized was that for like 2 years, we were told to be in isolation. And I've worked in isolation for many years as self-employed, and I haven't really been in these environments where it's just so loud, just all the time like that. And I said, oh, I have I have a sensitivity to loudness, things being really loud, and I become overstimulated. And so I'm like, okay, so being at this church, I found myself being overstimulated the entire service. And I said, okay, all right, so what is it that I can do? And so I remember I have some earplugs in my wallet from when I went to another church. And I was like, okay, I'll put these earplugs in. I can hear all the things, but it's not as loud as it has been. And that started to help. And then the pastor came back the next Sunday. And as he was preaching, I was just like, oh, this is my guy. Like, wow, this is my guy. And then I heard him again and I was just like, this is my guy. Doesn't mean he's perfect, but I was just like, this is my guy. And then I went to the women's event and she preached and I was like, this is my girl. I was like, whoa. Like I felt empowered, convicted. I felt all these different emotions, encountering her. And I was just like, goodness, like, yes, I can get behind this. Because for me, if I'm going to go to church, I want to grow. I want whatever's coming across that pulpit, that it is forcing me to grow and get closer in my relationship with God. And encountering them too, I was just like, yup, I can get behind this. I can feel myself being stretched to the high heavens quickly. Love that. But then I started finding myself being like, I don't think I was judging the church, but I started finding myself saying, what am I experiencing? Like, what am I feeling? Why do I feel like I don't belong? Why do I feel like a little bit irritated? What is it that I'm feeling right now? And I'm still not quite there, which is why I said I haven't officially joined, because I'm like trying to feel what is it that I'm feeling. Now, one of the things that I have learned about myself and my giftings is that I am very sensitive. And I don't mean sensitive like, oh my gosh, she's so sensitive, but like I'm sensitive spiritually. So when I'm in environments, I can feel things. And sometimes I just don't know what I'm feeling. And I just don't know what's going on. And I'm trying to get in tune with what in the world is going on. So for the past couple of weeks, I've been like, stay put, don't do anything. You just don't know what's going on yet. You got to give God an opportunity to help you understand so you could know what's going on. And so this past Sunday, when I was sitting there and I kept having those feelings, I just kind of grabbed a title envelope and I just started to write. And I was just like, what am I feeling? And I just started processing all the feelings that I was feeling while I was just still at the church, just to get those feelings out, which is what I do at home in general. I'm a verbal processor, so I write everything out. So just kind of writing everything out about what I was feeling. And I was like, but I couldn't figure out still why I was feeling what I was feeling. But also some of the things that has happened since I've been there is like, they had great value for singles. So they put on this singles event. Oh my God. First of all, there were, hundreds of people at this event. Hundreds. I was like, whoa. Now I was cute. I made sure I was super cute. Okay. And it was just hundreds of people at this event. And I had great value for that, to see that there is a value for singles and people getting married and all the type of stuff and people attending. That was awesome. Did I meet anybody? No. And that's okay. Well, I sat at a table with a bunch of guys and they were interesting. I talked to everybody. They were very interesting. I was like, okay, they're great guys, not my guys, whatever, And so I was like, they have value for that. They're doing a lot of ministry, like in the street, like street ministry. They have a high value for healing and deliverance and the prophetic and all these different things. And I'm like, yeah, I can see. But also what started to happen was I started to recognize people and people started to recognize me. I've met, I think it's 2 people that know me from online. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Hey, nice to meet you. Then someone used to go to my old church. I met them. Someone that I did ministry school with, I saw them. And then last Sunday, I was just sitting in church, just trying to like take it all in. And one of the ministers comes up to me and she goes, did you used to go to VSSM? And I said, yeah. She goes, oh, hey, are you back? She recognized me from ministry school. And I was like, oh, her face was kind of familiar, but not really. But, we connected. And I've been watching her the last couple of weeks. And I'm like, oh, so she goes here. She's a white girl. And I was like, okay, she's really enjoying this. And I remember she was in VSSM, but I don't remember a whole lot about her. And I said, okay, let me, try to take in all this at one time while I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with me, what I'm sensing and all that. And place a value on the fact that here are these different people that I know love the Lord, that I know are into the prophetic and healing and all the things, and they have chosen this as the place where they want to grow. And as I did that, I said, okay, I can get behind this because I can literally reach out to those people and start having conversations. So like the girl, Nicole, we exchanged phone numbers, and I'm going to reach out to her and say, hey, would love to have lunch or dinner one day to connect and just, shoot the breeze. Because for me, I'm like, I want to make friends there, but I also know that I want to serve and all that. And I'm like, how can I talk to people who are already serving that I can just get a real more sense of the church and learn different things and all that, so I can know what I'm sensing and all those things. And it's not because like I'm trying to judge a church or I'm better than anybody else. No. When you come into an environment, you should be judging the environment in terms of what you have to bring to the environment and what the environment can bring to you, right? Yes, you can go worship God. You can worship God anywhere. But if you're going to let that environment mold and shape you, and you're going to bring who you are into that environment, you got to know what's going on. You don't just join because it's a hot church or whatever. That place is going to touch every aspect of you. You know what I mean? So I'm very intentional about that. And so I'm finding myself like going, okay, I don't understand what's happening with me spiritually, but I do know how happy I feel with regards to this, and this, right? And right now we're going into the fall. So I think they're going to start doing different classes and home groups and maybe whatever, because I think most churches in the summertime, they don't do a whole lot. So I think they're getting ready to start going into doing those types of things. And so I'm going to probably start attending the different things that they're doing to connect with people, also to grow and all that. But I think that the reason why I found myself not wanting to just settle in on this church is because it's the first one that I've gone to. I've come back to Texas after being gone for 5 years. It's the first one I've gone to. I haven't gone anywhere else, and I have this like desire of like, maybe I should go to some other ones to really know if this is what I should be doing. You know what I mean? Not because I want to get my cake and eat it too, but it's like, it's like dating. Yes, you can meet somebody and then you go on a date with them, but that doesn't mean that is your husband or that's your wife. You have the opportunity to date other people to determine like, is this my fit? Right? Like I wouldn't get mad at a man if he comes to me and asks me out and I ask him, are you dating anybody else? If he says, well, I'm not exclusive with anyone. I have met 3 different young ladies and I'm getting to know the 3 of them, and everyone is completely aware that I am just starting to date. I have to respect that. Now I don't want somebody who's kissing everybody or he's been dating this girl for 6 weeks exclusively. Now he got somebody else. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that here I am, for example, new to Texas. If a guy asks me out on a date, I want to go on a date with him. If another guy asks me out on a date, I want to go with him. If another guy asks me, I want to go with him. And I want to start feeling out what really makes sense for me and talking to God about these different men, right? Now, if one of them is trying to court me like exclusively, I will have to be like, hey, I am trying to feel out. I'm getting back into dating and I don't want to do anything exclusive yet. I want to date other people until I can determine, the right relationship for me moving forward. I think it's the right thing to do to tell him that and to do that for myself. And it's the right thing for him too. And so that's a whole other conversation. So as it pertains to churches, I've had this feeling of like, don't sign up officially until you go somewhere else. But I haven't tried to go anywhere else. I haven't heard God tell me to go anywhere else yet. But I'm getting the feeling that this is the place. And when I was talking to the girl, Nicole, I said, I called her over. I said, how long have you been going here? And she goes, oh, well, just a year. And I was like, oh, just a year. And she goes, yeah. She said, I was living in this city and then God asked me to come back and move to Houston. I didn't know why, But as soon as I said yes, I found out that this pastor was moving to Houston. And she said, I've been following him for a very long time. And when I found out he was moving to Houston, starting a church in Houston, she was like, that was a done deal. It was like, it was guaranteed that's where I was going. And I was like, okay, well, that's really interesting that she feels that way. So I want to spend some time with her to find out, why does she feel that way? You know what I'm saying? Well, it's like, she's someone who I've done school with, so we both have a same kind of like level playing field, or like a foundation. And I'm just curious of what that is. So that I kind of know what I'm coming into out, like behind the veil, so to speak. But like, when I think about the fact that like I found a church, you know, I said to myself, okay, if this is like, it's a lot of people there and there's a lot of new people come every single Sunday. And I said to myself, well, this is really interesting, because if they've been able to do this in a year, wow, what is God doing? What's going on here? How can it add to me? How can I add to it? You know? And I just thought it was a great thing when I was evaluating kind of that. But as of right now, today, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is the place. You know, I'm like, I always look for a place where I feel encouraged. I feel convicted. Where I feel like I can make friends, where I feel like it can add to me and I can add to it, where they have a healthy relationship with God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. And there's room to grow. And I'm like, I'm seeing all of that, you know, and it doesn't hurt that my pastor back in San Diego is like a fan of him and a fan of the church. That doesn't hurt at all. You know what I mean? So this is where we are right now with Finding a Church. I'm pretty sure this is it. And so I wanted to provide this update because I had lots of conversations on the show about other churches and all types of things. But I'm pretty sure this is it. I would like to, at some point in time, probably do some interviews with people. I think once I develop more relationships there, I'll probably maybe like go to a space in like the apartment complex and do like some interviews with people about their relationship with God or whatever. Maybe even do some things on Zoom, because I'm like, I want to have more people on the show that we all can learn from, me, you included. But I wanted to provide this update. So that's it. If you're in Houston, Texas, come check out RIG Global, RIG Global, in Houston, Texas. So thank you so much for listening and watching.